The United States government has spent a staggering $40 million in just 1 month to detain fewer than 400 migrants at the Guantánamo Bay naval base in Cuba. This massive expense has raised serious concern among US lawmakers who are calling the operation a waste of resources and an unnecessary burden on the military. If we talk particularly about this place, then Guantánamo Bay is historically known for holding terror suspects. But in a surprising move, the US government has been using this place to detain migrants, many of whom have no criminal records beyond crossing the US border illegally. These individuals, mostly from Venezuela, El Salvador, and Nicaragua, have been caught in the middle of a policy shift that has turned a military base into an expensive and very controversial immigration detention center. Senator Jack Reed, along with 4 other lawmakers who visited the base, strongly criticized the handling of the situation. They argued that instead of spending millions of jailing migrants offshore, the government should be improving immigration facilities inside the United States. According to Pentagon's own data, nearly 1,000 government employees, mostly military personnel, are stationed at Guantánamo, and that is just to run this immigrant operation. So the question is, who are the migrants held at Guantánamo? Since February, at least 395 migrants have been held at Guantánamo, with about half of being quickly transferred back to the US or deported. This has left many wondering, why were these people sent to an offshore prison in the first place? Well, let's find the answer now. The Department of Homeland Security claims that only migrants with connection to criminal organizations are being sent to Guantánamo. However, independent investigation has found no solid evidence proving that these detainees are involved in serious crimes. In fact, many of them were simply caught crossing the US border multiple times. Then comes the cost of flight and secret transfers. One of the biggest mysteries surrounding this operation is the high cost of transporting the migrants. The US military has been flying detainees to Guantánamo on Air Force cargo planes, a move that cost far more than using any commercial or charter flight. Over 177 Venezuelans were flown from Guantánamo to Honduras before being placed on a Venezuelan aircraft and deported back to their home. Meanwhile, other migrants were quickly transferred back to ICE detention center in the United States of America, leaving people questioning why were they sent offshore in the first place. Despite repeated questions, the US government has refused to explain why some migrants were flown back to the US while others were deported directly from Guantánamo. Guantánamo Bay is one of the most expensive places to operate a detention facility because of 2 reasons. A. It is isolated from the rest of Cuba by a minefield, making transportation extremely difficult. Secondly, the base generates its own electricity and water, adding to the cost. Supplies must be flown or shipped in from Florida, making everything really expensive. Now, the 5 senators who visited the base described it as an unsustainable and unnecessary operation, urging the administration to immediately stop using Guantánamo for migrant detention. In fact, some officials have revealed that a secret agreement between the Defense and Homeland Security Department governs the use of Guantánamo for the migrants. This agreement states that only those with ties to transnational criminal groups can be held at the base. However, there is very little or even no proof that the current detainees met this particular criteria. In fact, the Trump administration has failed to provide any concrete evidence that these migrants are violent criminals. Many of them were simply seeking asylum or trying to enter the US to work and support their families. Now, the future of this costly and controversial operation remains uncertain. While lawmakers are demanding answers, the administration has continued sending these migrants to the base, spending millions in the process. The secrecy surrounding this operation has only fueled more criticism, outrage, and demands for transparency. With Guantánamo already very famous for its history of holding detainees without any trials, many fear that this latest use of the facility is just another example of government overreach and misuse of taxpayers' money. Whether the administration will shut down this expensive detention program or double down on it remains to be seen. But let's look at a bigger picture. As immigration remains a very hot topic in the United States, this Guantanamo operation is just one part of a much larger debate. Critics argue that the government should be focusing on fixing the broken immigration system, not spending millions on offshore detention centers. Others worry that if this practice continues, it could set a very dangerous precedent for how the US handle migration in future. For now, one thing is certainly clear. Taxpayers are footing a massive bill, while hundreds of migrants remain in limbo, locked up in one of the world's most controversial detention facilities.